solidarity actions, and national campaigns addressing the spaza shop crisis and gender-based violence. Mass events such as the 112th anniversary celebration in Bombela demonstrated the enduring mobilization capacity of the movement. Quality membership remains a central pillar of renewal. The 55th National Conference prioritized the political quality of membership, mandated political education cells, youth recruitment drives, and the realignment of political schools. The ANC Foundation course and renewed cadre policy seek to ensure that membership is anchored in values, discipline, and service to the people. Members are reminded that joining the ANC is not merely a symbolic act, but a commitment to activism, organizational discipline, non-racialism, non-sexism, and social justice. The state of organization between 2022 and 2025 reflects both the fragility and resilience of the ANC. The movement has demonstrated its capacity to stabilize critical national crises and to initiate meaningful organizational reform. At the same time, the scale of organizational erosion, especially at branch level, confirms that renewal remains an urgent and unfinished task. The future of the ANC as the leader of South Africa's transformation project will depend on whether it can convert these renewal initiatives into a living organizational culture rooted in service to the people, ethical leadership, and disciplined grassroots activism. Dispute resolution mechanisms and managing conflicts. The ANC established dedicated dispute resolution structures at the 55th National Conference, with further refinements at the 55th Conference, including the creation of the National Dispute Resolution Committee and Committee of Appeals, NDRC and NDRCA. While no disputes were handled in 2024 due to the national election campaign, 2025 saw a sharp escalation in disputes linked to regional and provincial conference processes. Through its work with provincial dispute resolution committees, the NDRC identified several systemic, operational, and technical weaknesses undermining organizational stability. A major challenge is the removal of the GPS verification feature from the membership scanner system, which previously confirmed venue compliance and quorum. There are also serious delays in the release of verification reports, with final reports sometimes issued only days before conferences or delayed by months. Branch secretaries do not have direct system access to these reports, heightening disputes and administrative confusion. In addition, membership data inconsistencies persist, with members appearing active in some systems and inactive in others, and unexplained fluctuations in branch numbers, undermining confidence in BBGMs and BGMs. The abuse of the appeal mechanism has increased dramatically. In some regions, nearly half of meetings are contested, leading to the emergence of parallel and competing branch structures. In the Hobusana region, for example, a cycle of repetitive appeals developed, where rerun meetings ordered by the NDRC are repeatedly re-challenged, weakening organizational authority and delaying renewal. The NDRC also faces severe capacity constraints. This contributes to delays and impacts the functioning of the NDRCA, ultimately affecting conference timelines. In 2025, the NDRC processed numerous disputes across Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Gauteng. While most were finalized, a smaller number remain outstanding. Disputes arising from the Limpopo regional conferences led to the appointment of a second task team led by Comrade Noxolo Kivit. After engaging affected structures, the team submitted its report to the officials and the NWC and confirmed the validity of the regional conference processes. The NDRC calls for the restoration or replacement of GPS verification, faster and transparent verification reports, system access for branch secretaries, stabilization of membership data, capping abusive appeals, strengthening NDRC staffing capacity, and better alignment between the NDRC and the NDRCA. Following the incorrect ANC candidate list submitted to the IEC ahead of the 2024 elections, the NEC appointed a task team chaired by Comrade Thembi Majola to investigate the matter. The team completed its work, submitted the report to the NEC, and made corrective recommendations on the process. The Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission is mandated to uphold ethical conduct within the ANC and safeguard the organization from behavior that brings it into disrepute. Its work reinforces integrity as a core ANC value and strengthens ethical consciousness among leaders and members. In 2025, the Integrity Commission held more than 20 meetings, engaged with 11 comrades, and submitted 5 formal reports to the Secretary General. Amendments to its terms of reference now allow those engaged by the Integrity Commission to comment on draft findings before finalization, strengthening fairness and procedural integrity. The Integrity Commission reports persistent non-compliance with long-standing ANC resolutions, particularly the requirement that cadres accused of corruption must immediately account to the Integrity Commission. Delays and avoidance undermine public trust. The Integrity Commission calls for decisive leadership from ANC officials to enforce compliance and to ensure disciplinary consequences where required. The Integrity Commission stresses the urgent need for a visible, time-bound, and publicly communicated anti-corruption strategy. Failure to act decisively continues to erode moral authority and public confidence. A serious concern is the weak understanding of ethics and integrity among some cadres. The Integrity Commission, therefore, recommends that ethics be mandatory in leadership selection, electoral committee, vetting, and induction programs. Leadership must set the ethical tone through consistent personal conduct. The Commission emphasizes the distinction between disciplinary, legal, and integrity processes. Integrity operates at a higher moral threshold than criminal law. The reliance on innocent until proven guilty as a shield against ethical accountability has damaged the ANC and must be treated as misconduct. Money politics remains one of the most destructive forces in the organization, influencing leadership contests and fundraising. The Integrity Commission therefore warns that blurred lines between state and party finances fuel corruption, and therefore fundraising rules, transparent processes, firm enforcement, and disciplinary action for violations must be undertaken by the leadership. Factionalism, now rooted more in competition for resources than ideology, is eroding organizational unity. Weak communication has also left the ANC vulnerable to negative media narratives and reputational harm. The 55th National Conference reaffirmed the step-aside resolution, expedited corruption cases, and required public dissociation from serious wrongdoing. Since 2022, several NEC members have stepped aside, resigned, or faced disciplinary processes. Integrity reports are now a standing item at all ANC NEC meetings, and the NEC has reaffirmed the need for lifestyle audits. Further than that, ethics and integrity guide leadership selection. NEC reaffirmed that we need to strengthen ethical fundraising training, a formal ANC code of conduct and ethics be established, accountability be fundamentally strengthened, organizational renewal be urgently accelerated. Political education is affirmed as the foundation of any revolutionary movement, with the ANC emphasizing compulsory political education for all members to strengthen ideological clarity, leadership, and organizational capacity. The Political Education Subcommittee and Department are mandated to ensure comprehensive ideological training aligned with the objectives of the National Democratic Revolution. Over the past 2 years, improved coordination has been achieved among institutions such as OR Tambo School and alliance training bodies. The 55th National Conference directed that the OR Tambo School curriculum be tailored for new members, compulsory induction be enforced for leaders and public representatives, leadership be linked to attendance of political schools, and political education cells be established. To implement these resolutions, 7 strategic priorities were adopted, including compulsory foundation training, leadership development, policy master classes, organizational training, skills training, ideological publications, and international political schools. Central to this work is the compulsory foundation course, developed in 2023-2024 and launched by the President in October 2024. The course consists of 5 modules covering the history of the ANC, its values and ethics, governance, global context, and the role of branches and members. By October 2025, over 125 members, which is 23%, and 36% of branches had participated. Mpumalanga and Gauteng lead the implementation, while Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape lag significantly due to disputes, organizational weaknesses, and rebuilding processes. National leadership structures, including the NECs of the ANC, ANC Women's League, and the Veterans League, as well as caucuses and officials, have largely undergone training. However, the ANC Youth League NEC failed to complete its program due to poor attendance. The OR Tambo School is also delivering policy master classes on key economic and governance themes, with future focus shifting to developmental state and capacity and social policy. Induction programs for elected leadership structures and public representatives have been widely implemented since 2023. Though some provincial caucuses remain outstanding, financial governance training has been conducted for treasurers, and secretary training is being developed. Looking ahead, the OR Tambo School plans to significantly scale up leadership and governance training between 2026 and 2032. Institutional strengthening is underway, including the appointment of a new board chaired by Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe and the appointment of Comrade David Makura as the principal. The school is finalizing its long-term strategy and moving toward financial sustainability. The Julius Nyerere Leadership School, a joint initiative of 6 Southern African liberation movements, is expanding ideological governance training. Although financial constraints remain a challenge, a formal partnership exists between this school and the OR Tambo School. The subcommittee has also contributed to national political strategy development and preparation for the National General Council. Overall, political education is being revitalized as a core pillar of organizational renewal. Key recommendations include mandatory foundation course completion by all leaders by 2026 and all members by 2027, advanced leadership training at the OR Tambo School, executive training for those in government, integration of veteran cadre programs, and a full review of the ANC cadre policy ahead of the 56th National Conference. Communications, Battle of Ideas, and ICT. The ANC's midterm review affirms that the Battle of Ideas is a central pillar of the National Democratic Revolution, not a secondary task. Communication is the primary instrument through which the ANC interprets reality, shapes the national narrative, mobilizes the motive forces, and provides ideological leadership. Since the 55th conference, the movement has confronted an intensified ideological crisis marked by the rise of conservative, anti-transformation narratives and operating across mainstream and digital media spaces. The communications environment has fundamentally changed. Digital platforms, algorithm-driven content, misinformation networks, and online influencers now shape public opinion faster than traditional media. Truth competes with virality, and hostile forces exploit social distress, unemployment, energy insecurity, crime, and service delivery failures to frame the ANC as the source of national suffering while erasing apartheid's structural legacy and global economic pressures. This has placed growing strain on the ANC's relationship with the people. Internally, fragmented messaging, undisciplined communication, and competing centers of authority have weakened narrative coherence. The 55th conference directed that the ANC restore message discipline, centralize communication authority, and modernize its communications machinery. In response, the subcommittee prioritized strengthening the Department of Communications, Information, and Publicity as the movement's central communication authority, improved briefing cycles, validation protocols, and coordination between national, provincial, and regional structures have begun to restore coherence. Since conference, key advances including the establishment of provincial and regional communicators forums, a national communications assembly, strengthened war room communication, and expanded digital platforms such as ANC TV and podcasts. Comrades, do you want a break? No. So, Chulanige, you are drowning me. Thank you. Order, please. However, order, comrades. This is your report. Pay attention. However, internal communication systems remain uneven, especially at branch and community level, where misinformation spreads most easily. The review identifies youth as a critical ideological frontline. Youth political engagement is now driven by digital culture rather than formal political structures. Comrades, the ANC's communication during the 2021 local government and 2024 national elections shows improving coherence and multimedia production. Strategic risks remain severe, uneven provincial capacity, weak ANC government communication alignment, limited digital analytics, inconsistent message discipline, resource constraints, shrinking community media platforms, and hostile digital misinformation networks. Overall, the NGC is urged to reaffirm communication as a vital instrument of struggle, elections and by-elections campaigns. Research presented to the 55th ANC National Conference warned of a severe electoral decline, projecting support as low as 33% in 2022 and only 38% by early 2024. The actual 2024 national and provincial elections results confirmed this trajectory, with the ANC losing its outright national majority and majorities in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. The conference directed the NEC to urgently establish strong election machinery. Comrades, although the campaign followed 4 agreed phases, laying the foundation, engage voters, Maihlome and Siyanqoba, much of the energy and resources were absorbed by large centralized events that largely mobilized existing supporters rather than persuading undecided voters. The ANC's 2024 manifesto, built around 6 national priorities, was launched in February 2024 and rolled out nationwide. Community engagements revealed deep frustration over slow service delivery, unemployment, load shedding, rising cost of living. The election outcome reflected a sharp crisis of participation, while the voters' roll grew by 2.3 million over a decade. Critical weaknesses in the campaign included denial of declining by election trends, failure to address poor governance, weak accountability of deployees, detachment of leaders from communities. By-election trends since 2021 further reflected instability. From 391 by-elections, the ANC suffered a net loss of 44 wards, mainly to the IFP, EFF, and MKP. Although limited post-2024 recovery is visible in parts of the Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga. Looking ahead to the 2026 local government elections, the ANC has adopted a renewed 4-phase strategy focused on rebuilding structures, deploying full-time coordinators, training over 200,000 volunteers, rebuilding branches, registering 4.5 million first-time voters, and reactivating abstaining supporters. Success depends on 5 key factors: a functional election machine, improved public mood, visible service delivery action, credible candidate selection, and adequate campaign funding. Policy monitoring and evaluation. The Policy Monitoring and Evaluation Subcommittee was established after the 55th National Conference as part of the ANC's broader organizational renewal program. Conference elevated monitoring and evaluation to a strategic priority, mandating the NEC to strengthen planning, coordination, accountability, and evidence-based decision-making across all levels of the organization. The creation of PMER responded directly to long-standing weaknesses in implementation. These developments introduced new political risks and made disciplined monitoring, early warning systems, and policy coherence essential. PMER operates through 2 main work streams: research and policy, and monitoring and evaluation. Since 2023, monitoring and evaluation has conducted extensive election research, including 5 national surveys during the 2024 elections, to track voter attitudes, leadership perceptions. To strengthen future readiness, monitoring and evaluation now tracks by-election performance on a monthly basis and is developing longer-term polling systems. The monitoring and evaluation work streams focuses primarily on service delivery and accountability. Comrades, Gender and Equity Committee. The Gender Equity Subcommittee is mandated to guide gender transformation across the organization and society. Since May 2023, the subcommittee has implemented a wide range of programs aimed at strengthening gender justice and equity. Key activities include an induction workshop to clarify its mandate, the Women in Diplomacy Dialogue, which promoted women's participation and working with COSATU. A major initiative is the Raising a Boy-Child program, launched by President Ramaphosa in November 2023. Other highlights include 30 years of women webinar that was held. Sectoral work, the ANC's character as a national liberation movement is expressed through its deep relationship with mass organizations and community structures, not only through its role in government. Sectoral work is therefore central to restoring the ANC's legitimacy. Sectoral work enabled the ANC to engage directly with organized social groups. A number of activities have been undertaken by this subcommittee. Disability Desk was formed by members with disabilities who identified the need for organized, structured, and representation within the movement. The desk therefore proposes a minimum 7% representation quota across leadership and deployment lists and strengthened political education and advocacy. ANC Awards system serves to recognize excellence, service, and commitment, while flagship awards such as Isitwalandwe, Siaparankwe, and the ANC Achievement Awards remain central to honoring struggle heroes and strong organizational work. Several critical gaps require urgent attention of this work. Comrades, following NEC approval in December 2024, 4 new awards have been proposed. Albertina Sisulu, Frinik Kinwala Award, Walter Sisulu, Long Service Award, Pindandwandwa Ndwandwe Award, Ruth Sikhumuti Mumpati Award. International relations. Following the 55th National Conference, the ANC elevated international relations to a strategic political priority by assigning full-time leadership to the first Deputy Secretary General as the chair of the International Relations Subcommittee. This shift reflected the growing complexity of global politics and understanding that foreign policy is central to advancing South Africa's national democratic revolution. The NEC adopted a guiding political framework, the world we live in today, and the ANC's international relations, which now shapes engagements and political education. At the heart of the ANC's international outlook lie the principles of the Freedom Charter: peace, friendship among nations, national sovereignty, and opposition to colonialism and imperialism. These values are expressed through progressive internationalism, grounded in Pan-Africanism. Africa remains the primary focus of the ANC's global engagement. Comrades, the granting of full G20 membership to the African Union in 2023, followed by South Africa's hosting of the G20 presidency in 2025, significantly enhanced Africa's voice in global politics. Comrades, there are a number of activities that have been undertaken by our work in international relations. This includes consolidating our work among liberation movements and the Liberation Movement Summit, which reaffirmed political solidarity in Southern Africa. ANC Leagues, ANC Veterans League, entered a period of renewal following the collapse of its structures after October 2022. In response, the ANC-NEC appointed a national task team in November 2022 to restore functionality, clarify membership eligibility, and rebuild structures and prepare for new conferences. This process culminated in the successful third National Conference of the Veterans League in July 2023 under the theme Renewal of the ANC to Advance the National Democratic Revolution. ANC Women's League. The ANC Women's League, established in 1948, remains a central force in South Africa's liberation history. Rooted in the National Democratic Revolution, the Women's League defines patriarchy as a structural source of inequality. Since 1994, the League has played a decisive role in shaping constitutional protections for gender equality. The 13th ANC Women's League National Conference reaffirmed gender-based violence and femicide as a national crisis requiring urgent attention. The Women's League held a successful national conference. The Youth League, 26th National Congress of the Youth League, was held in July 2023. It marked a historic turning point after nearly a decade of interim leadership. The Congress reasserted the League's mission of advancing economic freedom and a radical policy shift aligned to the NDR. Comrades, the Youth League actively participated in the 2024 elections campaign, securing youth representation in parliament and provincial legislatures. Umkhonto weSizwe, Liberation War veterans, present their first formal progress report to the ANC National General Council, following the establishment of a unified structure at the East London All-Inclusive Conference. The conference convened under the authority of the ANC and NEC after the disbandment of MKMVA and the MK Council, mandated unity, constitutional alignment, welfare, economic empowerment, heritage preservation, and active participation in ANC renewal. Since its launch, MKLWV has registered as a non-profit company, established 10 functional subcommittees, and formed a representative national interim committee. Provincial structures have also been formed. MKLWV will convene a national conference in January 2026. ANC provinces, Eastern Cape. The Eastern Cape remains a key stronghold of the ANC. Through its dominance, is steadily eroding amid declining voter participation, service delivery challenges, economic hardships, and organizational weaknesses. In the 2024 national and provincial elections, ANC support dropped to 62%, with significant losses in Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City metros, and growing opposition presence in Sarah Parkman district. While the ANC still controls most municipalities, several are hung or are under opposition rule, highlighting rising electoral vulnerability. Organizationally, the province faces a sharp decline in membership, down by over 37% since 2022, linked to demobilization, system failures in the national membership database, and weakening branch activism. Of 710 branches, only 483 are in good standing. Nonetheless, the PEC has stabilized the organization successfully, convened most regional conferences, strengthened unity and improved cooperation with the leagues, Umkhonto weSizwe, Liberation War Veterans, and Sanko. Political education remains uneven, while over 200 branches have begun the ANC Foundation course. The PEC prioritizes mass work through campaigns. Governance in the province shows great performance. Economic growth was recorded in 2025, especially in mining, agriculture, and manufacturing. However, unemployment remains high, poverty persists. Municipal governance has improved in areas such as OR Tambo District, clean audits and grant spending, but severe challenges remain in Nelson Mandela Bay, Buffalo City and Makana, and several rural municipalities. Free State emerged from its 9th provincial conference in January facing deep organizational divisions, weak branch functionality, declining community confidence, and distressed municipalities. The PEC placed organizational renewal at the center of recovery, prioritizing unity, ethical leadership, and accountable governance. Although the ANC retained the provincial majority in the 2024 elections with 51.8%, support has steadily declined from 2019, signaling reduced hegemony and an urgent need for visible governance improvement. Organizational renewal has focused on restoring collective leadership, stabilizing branches, and strengthening political discipline. The integration of the Premier into the ANC officials resolved tensions between the organization and government. Political education is the strongest renewal pillar. The foundation course has trained over 500 facilitators and 9,168 members, one of the highest outputs nationally. Weekly hybrid training has embedded ANC values, freedom charter, governance, accountability, etc. However, branch functionality remains weak. Of 319 branches with 34,200 verified members, only 2 remain within mandate. Membership systems challenges, gatekeeping, bulk buying remain some of the key challenges that the provinces face. Overall, with NEC support, the Free State is rebuilding capacity and credibility, but renewal must translate into stronger mobilization. Gauteng reflects the most advanced and demanding terrain of the ANC support base, shaped by rapid urbanization, deep inequality, and economic integration. The traditional working class base has fragmented into a precariat of informal workers, the unemployed and insecure service sector labor, many of whom no longer believe ANC promises on jobs and services. The black middle strata, professionals, entrepreneurs, and public servants have largely shifted away from the ANC, prioritizing clean governance, infrastructure, and economic stability. Capital, both established and emerging, increasingly views the ANC alone as a risk to economic stability. In the 2024 elections, ANC support fell to 34.7%, confirming a historic loss of hegemony and forcing the movement into a competitive coalition environment. The ANC now governs through coalitions in Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane. A provincial task team was appointed in 2025 to rebuild the organization, reconnect with communities, deepen political education, and drive governance performance. Organizationally, Gauteng has functional provincial and regional structures, and active sectoral outreach. However, membership remains weak at just over 46,000 in good standing, with only 178 of 529 potential branches fully compliant. The foundation course rollout has trained over 47,000 members and strengthened political education. Comrades, KwaZulu-Natal experienced a severe shift in the balance of forces since the 2021 local government elections, with declining ANC support, weakened organization and reduced control of key municipalities. The IFP regained rural ground, while the MKP drew emotionally driven support from ANC, from former ANC voters. The most damaging trend has been a rising absenteeism, particularly among historic ANC supporters who chose not to vote rather than defect. Urban frustration over corruption, unemployment, crime remain some of the challenges. The motive forces, workers, youth, women, rural communities, traditional leaders, and small businesses remain open to remobilization, but demand tangible improvements in services and ethical leadership. Organizationally, comrades, the province entered this period with weak branches, factionalism, collapsed political education, and declining discipline. In February 2025, the NEC intervened by appointing a provincial task team to stabilize the organization, rebuild unity, prepare for local government elections. Political education, branch rebuilding, and membership verification under Operation Ziveze form the backbone of renewal. Key campaigns in 2025 included Asibuyele Kai, the ANC is our home, and the ANC Friday with the communities, and Ukongolose, Ubuyela Kubantu. Limpopo, comrades, is led by the 10th Provincial Executive Committee, elected in June, overseeing 568 wards with ANC branches in every ward. The ANC continues to draw inspiration from the liberation of stalwarts and sustains grassroots mobilization through Litsima campaign. Organizationally, Limpopo remains relatively stable with 520 of 568 branches in good standing and successful completion of all 5 regional conferences in 2025. The province has implemented extensive political programs, including commemorations, community campaigns, and the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter. Since July 2025, the ANC has contested 15 by-elections in Limpopo and retained all wards. A provincial election strategy for the 2026 local government elections has been adopted and rolled out across all regions. Limpopo is one of the best performing provinces of the African National Congress. Comrades, Mpumalanga retains overall political dominance and governs across all municipalities. But this strength is increasingly challenged by declining voter confidence, uneven service delivery, reduced electoral participation, and weakened organizational cohesion in some areas. Although the ANC remains the majority, the 2024 elections revealed sharp drops in support in key municipalities. Critically, this decline was driven less by opposition growth than by rising voter abstention, with 43% of registered voters not participating. The motive forces in Mpumalanga remain historically loyal to the African National Congress. The decline of mining and energy sectors, including the closure of Komati Power Station, has weakened labor organizing capacity. Organizationally, the ANC remains functional in Mpumalanga. The ANC has met consistently since 2022, and key subcommittees of the organization have been meeting. Mpumalanga have shown great determination of comeback and organization in rebuilding the ANC in the province. It can be counted as one of the most promising and efficiently run provinces of the ANC. Northern Cape. The ANC in the Northern Cape remains a strong political and organizational position, characterized by unity, stability, and functional structures. The 10th Provincial Conference, presided by all regional conferences, reflected high levels of organizational cohesion and avoided the divisive conflict seen elsewhere. The conference reaffirmed that rebuilding the movement, reconnecting with the people, and recommitting to revolutionary values are central. The ANC in this province has won even wards that belong to Democratic Alliance in the African National Congress. Of the province's 232 branches, 218, 94%, are in good standing, reflecting high levels of organizational stability. Their membership stands at 54,767. Comrades, Northwest. The Northwest enters the mid-period under pressure from organizational strain, declining voter confidence, and municipal instability. This province of Northwest is one of our surprises in the last elections. They performed very, very, very well in this province. That election reflected vulnerability but resilience of this province. The province retains functional PC, RECs, and branches, though capacity and discipline remain uneven. Bujanala is the strongest region with high mobilization and political education uptake. Ngakat Mudiri Mulema has a large membership base but weak branch performance, while Kenneth Kaunda and Dr. Ruth Mumpati show stronger structural stability. Western Cape operates in the most hostile political terrain in the country, having been out of provincial power since 2009 under continuous Democratic Alliance governance. ANC support has steadily declined, worsened by the rise of the Patriotic Alliance among colored working class communities and the MK party in former ANC strongholds. In response, the NEC established a provincial task team to strengthen the province of the Western Cape. The Revolutionary Alliance, comrades. The Revolutionary Alliance between the ANC, SACP, COSATU, and SANCO is a unique and historic political formation rooted in the shared vision of the Freedom Charter and the National Democratic Revolution. Established in the early 20th century and strengthened through successive phases of struggle, the alliance has always reflected a non-racial multi-class coalition of the motive forces of social change. While each partner retains organizational independence, the alliance is strategic, not tactical, because it is united by a common ideological program aimed at building a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous South Africa. Since 1994, the alliance has contested elections jointly under the ANC leadership, developed shared election manifestos, and aligned deployment into the state the Alliance has achieved major democratic and socio-economic gains, including constitutional protections, expanded basic services, infrastructure development, and improved social wage. However, it has also been weakened by the corrupting effects of incumbency, which have fostered corruption, patronage, and factionalism across the movement. These challenges have eroded discipline, unity, and revolutionary values, with the ANC bearing the heaviest political cost. Debate about restructuring the alliance has persisted since 1994, culminating in proposals for reconfiguration to adapt to democratic conditions. Although a joint discussion document emerged in 2019, the issue remained unresolved at the 55th National Conference, which mandated the NEC to conclude the debate with attention to theory and organizational form. While all partners agree the alliance must be renewed and reconfigured, disagreement persists over its future character. The gravest challenge now facing the alliance is the SACP's 2024 decision to contest elections independently. This is viewed by the ANC as a strategic rupture that risks fragmenting the motive forces of the NDR and weakening the democratic movement following the electoral setback in 2024. The ANC has pursued multiple bilateral engagements with SACP, COSATU, and SANCO to avert further divisions. Despite these engagements, the SACP comrades remains committed to independent electoral participation, beginning with by-elections and proceeding to local government elections. Engagements with SANCO reaffirmed its continued commitment to the alliance, the Freedom Charter, and ANC-led electoral campaigns, while also highlighting concerns around local government dysfunction. COSATU engagement stressed that alliance challenges are structural rather than ideological, supported reconfiguration, and agreed on urgent tasks including an alliance economic summit, joint political education, coordinated international work, and strengthened policy coordination. Despite these efforts, bilateral engagements with the SACP in 2024 and 2025 failed to bridge the disagreement over independent contestation. The ANC has since resolved to reassess dual membership to protect its organizational integrity. Planned Alliance Political Council and Alliance Summit meetings were delayed due to scheduling conflicts, but remain necessary. The NEC concludes that despite setbacks, the NDR is not defeated. The alliance must be urgently convened post-NGC to resolve its crisis, prevent fragmentation, and safeguard unity ahead of the 2026 local government elections. But most importantly, the NEC have agreed that post this National General Council, we must mandate the NEC to engage in the decision about the implication of the Communist Party decision. How practically we are going to manage that decision, because that decision raises a number of challenges, including, in the main, dual membership. So the NEC will have to deal with that particular point, but it will be strengthened now in a discussion in this General Council, in the commissions, about what approach we need to take going forward. Comrades, the National Caucus, ANC Parliamentary Caucus, reviews the work that caucus has actually done. Following the 55th conference, the caucus prioritized transformative legislation, such as the NHI, Bella Act, Expropriation Bill, Public Procurement Bill, Climate Change Bill, and Pension Fund two-pot system. These laws became central to the 2024 election campaign. However, the 2024 electoral setback and the subsequent formation of the GNU fundamentally altered parliamentary dynamics. Comrades, the ANC no longer holds an outright majority in committees or the National Assembly and must now navigate ideological contradictions within the GNU while lobbying opposition parties to pass legislation. Policy contestation intensified as reflected in the delays to the 2025 budget and opposition-led challenges to government programs. The caucus also faces serious internal challenges due to the loss of institutional experience. Only 33% of MPs and 20% of whips were retained after the elections. This weakened the whipperies' political management capacity and exposed gaps in research, debating, skills, and narrative control. The ANC also lost its majority in portfolio committees, forcing it to rely on persuasion rather than numerical dominance. Weak study culture, limited research capacity, and competing demands between parliamentary constituency and organizational oversight work further constrained performance. Despite these constraints, opportunities remain. The ANC retains its significant governing authority within the GNU and a majority in the NCOP. The caucus is shifting from introducing new laws towards strengthening implementation and oversight of existing progressive legislation. Sector specialization partnerships with think tanks and strengthening parliamentary constituency offices are key priorities. The caucus adopted a 5-year and annual plan in January 2025, aligned with the ANC manifesto and NEC Lekgotla priorities. Oversight is driven through study groups, clusters, and systematic monitoring. However, accountability remains uneven, with 346 parliamentary questions outstanding as of October 2025, highlighting ongoing challenges in executive responsiveness. Constituency work has been elevated as a strategic priority. On policy implementation, we're faced with challenges across and in terms of social transformation, governance, peace, justice, correctional service, and economic transformation. Achievements include the signing of the Billa Act and so on, which we have mentioned earlier on. Economic transformation. The NEC, the ANC enters the NGC confronting a difficult economic terrain and the realities of governing through GNU. The 55th National Conference mandated the rebuilding of a people-centered economy anchored in industrialization. Politically, post-1994 electoral outcomes where the ANC received 40% of the national vote fundamentally reshaped the balance of forces. Local government, comrades, this followed the emergence of 70 young municipalities, widespread governance failures, financial collapse. The LGI developed a clear program of action which is being implemented. We established a new Department of Arts, Sports, Arts, Culture and Sports Subcommittee. This department had to deal with a central focus work which was about advocacy on the Copyright Amendment Bill. Education and Health subcommittees oversees 3 closely linked pillars of social transformation. Peace and stability. This committee presents a number of challenges that we are faced with, of which some have been processed as we speak. But the mammoth of task of monitoring the current developments in the country. Archives and Heritage continues to do the most important work of overseeing and maintaining the archives of the African National Congress. Legislature and Governance Subcommittee deals with matters that relate with the legislative and governance, and it convenes also regularly. Social Transformation Committee also deals with matters of the ATC, including some of the campaigns that include gender-based work, legal and constitutional affairs. This year marks 30th anniversary of South Africa's Constitution. This committee, among others, deal with those particular issues and coordinating that important anniversary. Comrades, President and the General Council, that is the report. Thank you.
Amanda. Anamba, Amanda. Yabona ke. Amanda. 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 Amandla. 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 Okay. Amandla. Amandla. Matla. Aruna. Matimba. Aena. Comrades, you can sing the whole evening as a program. Instead of 7, is a 9 up. Doesn't do enough. Amanda. Comrades, kuna difference enkulu phakathi kwe-choir competition ne-NGC. Those are two different events. Asikho choir competition up, sikwi-NGC. So kuna items that are still outstanding that we must attend to. And in reality, kukuba comrade, sizaku ziyathenda irrespective of what time it is. So uba nifuna ukucula kube to 9 kulungile, but sawuyiqhuba program lo kube to 12. Okay. Now kukho lo mntu une phone up. Khona umuntu one phone elapha. Yeah. Andiyicima. Umuntu wale phone makazoyilanda. Nokuthula. Kuba lufolelo nokuthula. Yeyakho. Yeyakho. Yekatolash. Yeyakho levon tolash. Uphambene nyani. Ukuga kakubi. Ulahla ifoni. Hayi ukuga kakubi. Mamelani. Let's now get into the financial report. Nicule kamandi and anibona icapacity yokucula ninayo. Now masiyeke lokucula icapacity singene financial report. Uba imali eze organization, do you understand them? Must present weke sinibone bani understand. Hlala phansi. Hlala phansi awuzuzikhomba apha. Akho mtshotshweni apha. Akho mtshotshweni apha kukhomba mna. Hlala phansi. Mamelani comrades. Sibetha i-financial report ngoku. That's what the program says. Okay. Sis Gwen, are you ready? Yes, that's it. Imedia mayikhutshwe ngabantu bayo be-communication. Abantu be-communication mabayikhuphe. Imedia mayiphume.